What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Cool Colas here, and you are now tuning into a new video on this channel. But before we get all into the topic for today, I would love it if you did a few things. Hit the like button, subscribe button, share button, and bell icon so you get notifications for whenever I come out with new content on this channel. And then when you are finished watching this video, leave me a comment below. That way I can get back to whatever it is that you had to say about the topic today. For today's topic, I want to give my quick thoughts on the Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight and everything in between. So let's get into it. So I heard a lot of different opinions on what a lot of people believed was going to happen with this fight and what people thought would be the outcome. I'm going to be totally honest with you. I thought that Jake Paul was going to win the fight, and I want to explain exactly why I believe that he was going to be the victor. The dominant society, the white supremacists, that is, they love to create this great white hope trope in any way that they can whenever there is something that is competitive that is going on. So whenever you see something that is competitive based in pop culture, they love to create this image of showing a white person slay, best, beat, whatever you want to call it, a black person who does that same respective thing that they're competing in. And typically you see this a lot in sports. And, other good examples would be, in basketball, in wrestling, in boxing. But boxing is the epicenter of where all of this started. And the reason why this is the beginning is because the Great White Hope trope started when they were trying to showcase this idea of Jack Johnson, who was this famous foundational black American boxer, being bested by a white boxer. And it was somewhat of a slaying of the beast type of image that they were trying to create. But ultimately, what it proves is that the dominant society has the belief that a win is a win, no matter how you get the win. All of the other things in between, the nuances, they don't really matter. It doesn't matter if this was a boxer that was 150 pounds and then who was black, and then you have another boxer who was 150 pounds that was black, and these boxers were relatively around the same age. All that stuff doesn't matter to them. They don't care about weight classes. They don't care about age. They don't care about bills. They don't care about that type of stuff. They like to see a white person best a black person in that respective sport or whatever competitive thing that is, no matter what it looks like. So they don't care if the black person is geriatric like Mike Tyson was in this case. They don't care if the black person was a kid. If the white person was an adult and they were able to best that black person, that's all that matters. And although I'm talking about this in the context of athleticism, this is something that goes into other things as well too. This can be talked about politically. This can also be talked about when we're looking at police brutality or the unjust unalivings of black people. So when you think about the times where you have suspected white supremacists who will pick off a kid because they have a BB gun or because they knock on their door and they're seemingly a threat and that type of thing, that's another example of that as well too, because in their minds, they see that black kid almost as a black man. So they're almost looking at them as if they are their equals. So what I mean by that is they don't really care. They negate all of the other factors and all the other things that are weighed into this. And that's part of why I've said many times before that the white supremacist is very deceptive. They like to play off of the fact that people don't discern and that people a lot of times are dumb as hell. And they like to portray face value images and to try to legitimize those things. So they don't consider all of the nuances because they want to make it so that you as a person do not care about it. And you've gone so long with not caring about it, you'll almost justify why it's cool to legitimize something like this. In the case of Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson, Jake Paul is a 20-something-year-old dude, and Mike Tyson is damn near geriatric. He's a couple years from being 60 years old. He could, in like literally, 4 years, he could qualify for senior living facilities and senior housing. Let's be real here. Mike Tyson is at the very end of Generation X. And he kind of falls into that old Negro sympathizer category. And I'm going to get into that because ultimately, I believe that there are a lot of staged elements to this fight. I think that Mike Tyson was just trying to get some money out of all of this. That's all he really cared about. So this idea of legacy and this idea of an empire that he created and all that, that was not important to him at this point. And it shows you the mentality, like I said before, of the old Negro sympathizer. They don't really have any desire to try to create real black empowerment. They may create an aesthetic through their skill, but they don't really want to create black empowerment whatsoever. And even on a smaller scale with Mike Tyson, he didn't really care about legacy. And you can even see that in the interview where the little girl asked him about legacy and he shut all of that shit down, basically. So the point I'm trying to get at is that I think a lot of people, because I'm going to be real, a lot of you all who are watching this are simpletons. And the first thing that you're going to harp on is, oh, well, Mike Tyson don't care, so why should you? Mike Tyson don't care, so why should you? A lot of y'all going to get into that shit. And I really don't want to hear you bitch about this. So please don't come in the comments doing that. I'm just warning you right now because that shit's just not going to get approved. I'm just being real with you. But going back, the reason why Mike Tyson is doing that is because he has old Negro sympathizer traits, which is that legacy is really not important. It's all about just getting the bag. It's all about being a willing participant if he has to in order for him to secure his retirement. On one end, and I'm going to be real with you all about how I feel about this. On one end, it's messed up because, again, it leaves other generations the responsibility of trying to create black empowerment. On the other end, I understand it and could empathize because I know that a lot of black people are just trying to make it in the system of white supremacy. So in their minds, they don't believe that they need to go the extra mile if all they need to do is be able to be a success for themselves. And if that's been ingrained to them and that's been the kind of communal mentality, then that's what they're going to follow suit and do. And you can see that a lot with these black celebrities, which is why my pet peeve isn't somebody basically getting the bag for themselves and doing well with their skill. But my pet peeve is when that same black person will go and try to be somewhat of a black figure that black people can look up to. And they're, saying a bunch of beliefs and different things and everybody is listening to them. And then when you find out when it comes to black empowerment itself, they don't really have these ideals. So that's my problem with that. But I don't want to go on a tangent. I want to talk about what I thought about this fight. When it comes to this fight, I'm going to be honest with you. I just saw clips and I actually heard from people about what happened. So I didn't really see it in full, but I do know the gist of kind of went on and what went down. So take it from that context. But one of the things that I did notice from what I saw was that at the end of the fight, it seemed like Mike Tyson was kind of just letting shit happen, and Jake Paul looked a little bit tired. He looked like he was winded. You know what I mean? So I say that to say that Mike Tyson, essentially, he's an old dude at this point, or an older dude is, I guess, what you could say. And he wasn't really, in my opinion, trying to be a master at his craft with this fight. He was just trying to get a bag. But even with that, it seemed as though this would have been a struggle and that Mike Tyson, to a certain extent, was holding back. But again, if we go back to the whole great white hope trope that I talked about, what the dominant society loves to do is they love to create this image of trying to normalize certain things. They were trying to basically pay Jake Paul. If we're looking at it from his end, they were trying to pay Jake Paul to legitimize his legacy of being a boxer. So this legacy that whites in the dominant society can best black people in certain regards and things that they have historically excelled in. And even worse for the generation of people like Jake Paul, that they can just come right from the internet and they can be known of being associated with something that's in the fighting, boxing, wrestling, etc. territory, and they can easily segue themselves into professionalism. And even if you look at somebody like Logan Paul, he was able to do the same thing and get in WWE and quickly win a United States championship. So you can even see it, from that aspect as well too. So it shows you that, a lot of people in the dominant society, all they have to do is be an internet sensation, and that can gateway them through some white privilege into other opportunities, even if they didn't have to get it through the mud the same way that these black performers did the same thing. So with Jake Paul, essentially, from my perspective, I thought this actually was kind of a bad look. I thought it was a bad look because for you to be winded and to be in a match where it's like Mike Tyson is holding back on you, You know, there shouldn't be any gloating. There shouldn't be any shit talking. Like, this looked bad for you because you didn't win off of the fact that you were a skilled fighter, that you were basically doing, you know, what you had to do to best this dude who has been an all-around champion. But what they were attempting to do was to frame it as if you were this young guy who bested somebody who was a world champion, somebody who was just regularly known for being a badass when it came to boxing. So this was, in my opinion, a way to legitimize some form of white supremacy in a way without really saying it. What I noticed, however, with this fight is that I think it backfired. I think that what they were expecting to happen now, what they knew happened in the past, they were expecting it to happen now. So in other words, I think that oftentimes the dominant society, they almost live 10 or 20 years back, maybe even further back than that range even in some cases. And they believe that the same tricks that they've pulled in the past with us as foundational Black Americans and just pro-blacks in general, they believe that they can pull those same tricks here in 2024, and we're not going to catch it, we're not going to analyze it, and we're not going to look at the things that they have done. So I'm saying all that to basically say this backfired, but they were expecting this to be Jack Johnson 2.0, the Great White Hope 2.0, whatever you would like to call it. So they were hoping that Jake Paul's win was a way to give him legitimate credit as a boxer because of who he was able to beat and who he was able to best. So now he looks like somebody who now is a credible boxer, although again, he didn't really get it through the mud. And before y'all go bitching and whining and hoeing and all this other stuff, because I get so sick of y'all just doing this over and over and over again, I am not saying all this because I am so mad, I am so angry, I am so infuriated, because a lot of you all have the discernment skills of a squirrel, and you believe that me expressing my points about this means that I am just so mad, I'm so angry, I am so fed up with this thing. I am simply reporting on the climate of what has happened, nothing more, nothing less. Do I think that this is deceptive and not cool? Yes. Am I mad about it? Not really, because I know it happened so much. I can't really keep getting that mad about it. My thing is to at least inform you all of what is happening here, because in the meantime, as I'm trying to create a better media, I want to show you the things that are actually going on. Now, if I am mad about something, or if there's something that I absolutely did not like, I will say it. And to be quite clear with you all, I have the right to be mad about whatever the fuck I want to be mad about. But I want to be clear. This is a report on the climate of white supremacy. So for all of you all who either do not have an existing brain or need to turn your little peanut shit on right now, this is just a report on what is happening. Take what you want from it. All right, y'all. So I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I hope y'all enjoyed what I had to say, and I'll definitely have more to come, so stay tuned. Other than that, I hope y'all have a great rest of y'all's day, and I'll talk to you later. Peace.